lot of the old folks blame me for renaming this community International District, and I tell them, well, whatever you think. But this area was settled first by the Chinese, then the Japanese, and then the Filipinos and Koreans and Vietnamese later on. But the first wave of immigrants were segregated into this area because there were these covenants in every neighborhood where white owners were not allowed to sell their property to people of color. There was a mayor in the 50s, early 50s, that decided, well, it's not just Chinatown, and we want to call it Manila Town and Japantown. Let's call it the International Settlement. And it was later on called the International District. And anybody that wants to call it Chinatown, do it. I mean, we don't give a shit. Call it whatever you want, you know? Call it Little Germany or whatever you want it. But just don't force other people to call it what you want it to be called. You have to give a lot of credit to the Wu family and the city for allowing us to use their properties. When we first acquired the property, of course, we didn't know much about environmental impacts and stuff. We hustled the railroad companies for railroad ties so that we built the retaining walls. And we said, well, since we, the Asians, built the railroads, you could mitigate some of that by donating or contributing the railroad ties to our community garden. They said, fine, you want them, you pick them up, you can have them. So we hustled about 1,200 railroad ties to build the walls for the terrace gardens. NP Hotel in back of you, right there, that building, that's where I grew up, on the 3rd floor. These buildings here, this is International Apartments owned and operated by the Seattle Housing Authority, and this is the Imperial House. Both of these buildings are built for low-income elderly, and so they're subsidized. And these were actually built because of the protest of the activists against the stadium. And knowing that the stadium would be built, we asked the city, the county, the federal government to mitigate the impacts of that stadium on this community by prioritizing this neighborhood for the new funding that was coming in from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And we were placed as a priority neighborhood for the first round of funds that came in to build a low-income senior housing. This is the site of the Bataan Recreation Club. This one here. There's a big gambling hall at that time, operated by a guy named Dan Sarazal, and it was one of the gambling halls that I would bring my dad to, and I'd get a lot of money from this one because it was a big gambling hall. They had a lot of tables and pool tables and card games and haiku and a game called Sikoi. Anyway, this is the Bataan Recreation Club. When the state built the freeway, I-5 through the district interim, we went to the governor's office at that time, and we petitioned the governor to mitigate the impacts of the freeway on the district. The community, through interim, should be allowed to build a parking lot under the elevated freeway. The state agreed to lease the airspace to interim, and at that time we were charging $6 a month for parking, and we couldn't give it away. So we petitioned the mayor, who instituted a magic carpet service up and down downtown Seattle, where all the buses through downtown were free. So we petitioned the mayor to extend the magic carpet service up to 8th and Jackson, because we brought a bunch of elderly with us to the mayor's office, and we said, Mr. Mayor, you're discriminating against these old folks who also want free bus service downtown. And the mayor said, okay. Well, you know what it was? That's where the parking lot was. So we invented Park and Ride. So those of you in the nonprofit business, have a stadium built in your community or a freeway, then you get all kinds of mitigation. About a dozen years ago, McDonald's put a 40-year lease on the corner business here, Union Market. Some of us went to McDonald's to say, why are you coming in now? Well, we want to build a franchise here to offer jobs for your young people and low-cost meals for your elderly. And we said, what do you think we're smoking, man? All you want to do is cater to the 4,000 people that will be coming into the offices. So we said, McDonald's, we can't stop you, but check out what we're willing to do. We will have pickets outside your establishment 24/7. We brought about 200 people, a lot of residents, up to the McDonald's at 3rd and Pine, and we disrupted that whole intersection for a whole afternoon to show McDonald's what we're going to do here. The next week, they broke the lease. But they're not, McDonald's not stupid. They are the prime sponsor of the Seattle Chinatown street fair every year. They're the prime sponsor. So McDonald's is hovering. They're still hovering. And we are hovering over McDonald's. So they haven't made a move to open up a franchise yet, but there'll be a time when they're going to try it again. But you're here. We'll need your help. If you're willing to go to jail, let me know. Go. This is a little kiosk that was dedicated 4 years ago to show a little bit of the history of the Filipino involvement in the community. A lot of the businesses that were established, and there's a little map where we can remember where businesses were located in the community. This is 6th Avenue. So you had businesses on this corner in the American Hotel. You had businesses, Filipino businesses, restaurants on that corner, this corner, and across the street, all the way down to Lane Street, where a lot of the Filipino businesses were. Dolores Sibanga, who was the first Asian woman to be elected to the Seattle City Council, her parents had a restaurant in this block here across the street, and Dorothy Cordova, Castellano Ligo, her mom and dad had a restaurant on 6th Avenue. I think it was where the American Hotel is here, on this side of the street. Now don't forget, during those old days in the 20s and 30s, because some of the laws prohibited Filipinos and Asians and other people of color from marrying white people, a lot of the Filipinos started dating and marrying a lot of the Native Americans, Indian people. Some of your great Native American leaders were, we call Indopino. Bernie White Bear, for example. His mom was Native and his father was Reyes from the Philippines. The great Indian leader from the Quinault, De La Cruz, was half Native, half Filipino. So there was a lot of that. And then my family, my great grandma was Canadian, Indian and French Canadian. A lot of mixed people in our community. The most beautiful people, of course. On this corner right here, where the telephone pole is, used to be the Manila Cafe, where I met my first wife. I've outlived 2 of them, but the Manila Cafe was in this corner here, so I hung out at the Manila Cafe for a long time, and then we got married and had a bunch of kids.